To the average person, the state police is merely the officer, who, by the way, prefers to be known as a trooper, in the striped car patrolling the highway. Perhaps he passes you at high speed sometime, a young man in a hurry to get to an urgent assignment. Or maybe, if you've been unwise in your driving, something like this has occurred. The state police is much more than the trooper in the car. Here at Stout Field in Indianapolis, state police headquarters, the girl going through the central file for information concerning some case dispatchers in the radio room talking to the cars on the highways or to other state police posts. The technician checking a piece of radio equipment. Or the laboratory man investigating with the tools of modern science the evidences of crime. These also are state police. Here's the comparison microscope, which can identify a bullet as having or having not been fired from a certain gun. Here's a test that shows human blood on a suspected weapon, even though that weapon has been washed several times. And here's the little gadget known as the polygraph, lie detector to you and me. All of these people and all of these facilities are at the disposal of the state police, and through them to local law enforcement officials in the endless job of enforcing the law in Indiana. The state police organization is tied to its headquarters in Indianapolis through a network of communications, the most important of which is radio. For the sake of efficiency, the state is divided into districts, each with its own headquarters post. Down in the southwest corner of the state, Evansville and adjacent counties is one district. And then there's Jasper, Charlestown, Connorsville, and Putnamville. And up in the northwest corner of the state, there's Dunes Park. And across the north end of the state, South Bend, Ligonier, Fort Wayne, Lafayette, and the newest of districts at Peru. A typical post such as Putnamville maintains communications not only with headquarters and other state police posts, but through a separate radio system maintains close contact with county sheriffs and city police organizations within its district. Putnamville, for example, is in continuous touch by radio with such points as Danville in Hendricks County, Terre Haute in Vigo County, Bloomington in Monroe County, Sullivan in Sullivan County, Martinsville in Morgan County, and Greencastle in Putnam County. Careful selection of its troopers is one of the foundation rocks of the state police, and the selection process is long and thorough. Here in a little central Indiana town, a young man who aspires to be a trooper fills out his initial application and mails it to Stout Field. A few days later, his preliminary qualifications having passed first reading, he becomes the object of a close check into his background and habits. A state police detective arrives in the community and spends a lot of time asking residents searching questions about their fellow townsmen. Every phase of his personal life and habits is gone into. Even the pastor of his church is checked as to what he knows about the young man's religious life. And from merchants, school officials, friends, and associates, a most complete picture of the young man's character is obtained. Hours of time are consumed in making sure that the candidate is the type of young man who will be able to learn and apply the lessons he'll be taught in police schools, those that he will learn as a trooper, and that he will uphold the traditions of Indiana's top law enforcement organization. Having survived a rugged written examination, our candidate goes before a board of ranking state police officers who subject him to a searching oral examination aimed at determining something of his psychology and sincerity. The questions often get a bit personal, and his reaction to these is watched closely. A trooper must be a near-perfect physical specimen, and in the examination on this, many candidates fall by the wayside. Blood pressure must be normal. A serological test is made. Eyes, ears, extremities are all closely checked. Height and weight must be close to normal, and heart, lungs, and internal structures generally must show no abnormality, for the physical demands upon a trooper are often severe. Some 2 months after he filled out the application and having survived the written, oral, and physical examinations, our candidate finds himself on the campus of Indiana University in Bloomington, where, with the others who have survived the rigorous selection process, he begins a 7-week course of training, into which is crammed a multitude of subjects ranging from basic criminal law and the techniques of arrest to photography and cryptography and codes. Here for the first time, a small select group winnowed out of hundreds who applied appear for the first time in uniform. The white shirts and trousers, black ties, belts and shoes are even a part of the training, for they must be correctly worn and neatly kept at all times, and are thus a first step in the indoctrination of the candidate into the fact that a trooper always presents a neat and soldierly appearance. 10-minute breaks separate 3-hour class sessions in which close concentration is required, for the subjects are varied, and those that follow in the course of a day do not necessarily tie in with each other, and a candidate must keep up from hour to hour and day to day with the rapid sequence and ever-changing kaleidoscope of topics with which a trooper must be familiar. And all this while, the rookie trooper finds himself under military-type discipline. He marches from class to class and from class to meals, and at all times he's under the close surveillance of his officers, with the knowledge that his bearing and manner under this rugged test become a part of the record upon which his eventual selection or rejection may depend. The rookie trooper learns early in his training period that he must know how to take care of himself in any situation. And so considerable time and lots of effort go into the training in self-defense on a hand-to-hand basis. Although a trooper carries a gun and knows how to use it, he exhausts all other means of handling a situation before hauling out the artillery. At this point, it becomes evident why some of the concern was shown about his physical condition at the outset of the selection process, for this type of training demands the ability to take it while learning how to dish it out. The trooper becomes expert in taking and breaking wrestling and judo holds, in disarming an opponent. In short, he knows how to take care of himself in his job of taking care of the public. As a part of his responsibility, the trooper must be ready to render first aid to injured persons, for in patrolling the highways and in serving at the scene of any sort of disaster, he frequently is the first person to arrive on the scene who has any knowledge of what to do. And many times his knowledge of first aid may spell the difference between life and death to the stricken person. In the department's endless battle against the rising tide of traffic deaths in Indiana, the trooper will be called upon to assist and investigate at the site of traffic accidents of every description. Often the witnesses are either non-existent, unreliable, or dead. And so the trooper must be able, through his investigation, to determine what caused the crash or what led up to it. Here the trainees are shown that the skid marks of the tires on a car can often tell how fast the car was moving prior to the accident, for a car will skid in exact proportion to the speed it was going when the brakes were applied or the skid began. Investigation at the scene of a crime by the first officer to arrive often spells the difference between a solved and an unsolved crime. And here Susie, the beautiful department store dummy, has been posed as the victim of a crime most foul. A state police expert shows the trainees the means and methods of getting all information from the objects left at the scene of a crime, to observe and preserve all significant clues. With the instructors pouring information into them 10 hours per day, the trainees, conscious all the while that only the top men will survive the final selection, spend many of their evening hours in dormitory bull sessions reviewing the classroom work of the day and fixing more firmly in mind the answers to questions that their instructors will toss at them tomorrow. And finally comes the acid test. The State Police Board, the civilian board that administers the state police organization, meets to consider the candidates for appointment as troopers. Each man's record goes under the microscope and he's subject to a searching interview with the board. There's a lot of perspiration at this point, for only about one-half the class will make the grade and get immediate appointment. And for the survivors of this final selection process, the top men of the class, there's a thrilling week in store. The final week of training in which they're made acquainted with the more grim tools of the trade, guns. Here in the practical pistol course, the troopers to be learn to fire with either hand from behind barricades, the quick draw, to shoot from prone, sitting, and standing positions and at various ranges. Their targets? Life-size silhouettes of a man. On the skeet range, the trainees, under the careful supervision of an FBI firearms expert, learn to handle a sawed-off shotgun on moving targets. They're required to show a high percentage of hits before they're passed through this stage of the game. Here another FBI expert lectures and demonstrates one of the deadliest of combat weapons, the .45 caliber Thompson submachine gun. Firing both short and long bursts, he uses tracer ammunition to show the trainees the speed with which the Thompson can spit out its hail of slugs. And here's a graphic demonstration of the tremendous short-range power of the shotgun. The lower of two large cans is filled with water, and a charge from the shotgun literally explodes the fluid, sending the empty can high into the air, where a second shot blasts it into ribbons. The ragged remains of the cans show the trainees the tremendous power of the weapons they use, a practical demonstration of why they must be used with extreme care. A postgraduate demonstration with the shotgun, shooting from the hip at a series of targets. Each trainee is expected to duplicate this performance for accuracy, if not for speed. And then the big moment. In the chambers of the Indiana Supreme Court, the trainee is sworn in by the clerk of the court as a trooper, Indiana State Police. It's the end of a long and hard road, but the difficult days he has survived give the new trooper at this moment a greater sense of satisfaction than he would have had the road been easier. Before they leave the court chambers, a justice of the state Supreme Court speaks words of congratulations to the new fledgling troopers and admonishes them on their responsibilities under the law. And now the moment they've all longed for. At the quartermaster room at Stout Field, the new troopers get the uniforms and equipment, the badges, hats, belts, and guns that will identify them before the world as members of the Indiana State Police. Extreme care is exercised in fitting each man's equipment, for a part of the pride of the service lies in the smart appearance the trooper must present. Although each man gets his uniform and personal equipment at this stage, he still must undergo a 3-month period of in-service training at his assigned post before he'll be issued his patrol car. Our particular new trooper is assigned to the Putnamville post. Like the others in his class, he'll be expected to learn thoroughly the roads and geography of the district to which he's assigned. In company with a veteran trooper, he will spend some 3 months on patrol, working along with the older trooper in the practical application of the lessons he was taught in training school and becoming a smooth working part of the organization. Like the older troopers, he'll learn the value of making the acquaintance of and working in cooperation with city police and with the county sheriffs in his district. Since much of his patrol duty carries him into rural areas, the trooper, like this veteran, early learns the value of knowing the farmers of his district. He learns that the farmer frequently is a keen observer of people and happenings in his area. and the farmer's cooperation and the information he can supply often are key points in investigations the trooper may undertake. The education of the public in traffic safety is an important part of the trooper's work, and no program such as this Community Bicycle Safety Day is complete without a striped car and a state trooper or two. And the youngsters, they love it. Trooper considers his training complete until he's had a chance to work with his fellow officers on a really big problem, such as comes up at State Fair time or on race day in Indianapolis. From all quarters of the state, troopers are assigned to the big job of handling traffic and law enforcement at the scene of big events where many thousands of cars and hundreds of thousands of people are congregated. Here the troopers on the fairground work in cooperation with the state police plane high overhead. In direct touch with the cars and troopers on the ground, and from his vantage point in the sky, the trooper in the plane can spot traffic snarls almost before they develop and rush extra personnel to the scene to deal with the situation. The plane, in fact, serves many useful purposes in addition to traffic congestion problems. In times of major disasters such as floods or tornadoes, the troopers in the plane often are able to spot the plight of victims and direct help to the scene by radio. In major manhunts and large-scale highway chases, the plane often is responsible for locating the fugitives and directing patrol cars to the point of interception. The cars bear large yellow identifying numerals on their tops, which allow the airborne troopers to know to which car they should address their radio calls. Each month, the troopers at each post are called to a post inspection at which each man must show himself, his uniform, his car, and its equipment to be maintained in efficient operating condition. Ordinarily, the post commanding officer and his first sergeant conduct the regular post inspections, with headquarters personnel making at least one annual inspection of each post. Of equipment escapes the inspection process. The trooper must lay out all the equipment in his car according to a prescribed plan, and each item must not only be accounted for, but shown to be in satisfactory operating condition. As a part of the program to maintain and increase the efficiency of the department, pistol competition is conducted regularly among the personnel assigned to each post, and once yearly, the posts pick their top shots and send a team to Putnamville for the departmental match. Competition among the post teams waxes hot and heavy, for there's a keen sense of post pride in having the top individuals or five-man team. And then, from the top individuals in the entire department, a departmental team is chosen to represent Indiana in competition with other police organizations around the country. At the end of the firing, there's the ceremony of presenting to the winners the trophies and awards. Various organizations interested in better law enforcement provide the awards annually. Awards such as these fine target pistols. No wonder the competition is hot. One of the happiest duties of the trooper is his work with youngsters in the schools of his district. In cooperation with school authorities and local law enforcement agencies, he's often called upon to aid in setting up school patrols, in enforcing the vehicle laws pertaining to the operation of school buses, and in making safety talks to the youngsters themselves. The admiration and liking of the children such as these is one of the real compensations of belonging to an agency such as the State Police, one of the real deep satisfactions the trooper derives from wearing the shield.